It started off like any other day, but today Jane Freeman had decided on a visit to her local library. It had been a long time, she thought, too long since she had taken out a book. Her first stop was the new bookshelf. She selected a title and opened it to read. But as she thumbed through the pages, she found them blank from cover to cover. Sue Palmer, librarian, went to the card catalog of her library to locate a book requested by the high school history teacher for her American history class. But as she checked the catalog, she found the cards were blank, from first to last. Charles Boyden, trustee of his public library, thought he would drop in to see how the new browsing room was coming along. But as he watched, the building started to dissolve into thin air and finally disappeared. The news aroused the people. And from a great multitude whose lives are touched by public library service came a question that echoed through the quiet villages that grace the New England countryside and the bustling towns and cities.
What's happening to our libraries?
What's happening to our libraries?
What's happening to our libraries?
In this age of astronauts, it is a question of vital consequence. Change is in evidence wherever we look today. Education with new demands is broadening its facilities and its scope. Opportunities for recreation have opened vast new possibilities. But in the rush to meet the challenge of our changing world, what's happening to our libraries? In too many communities, nothing. In others, libraries have kept pace with the times and provided the community with dynamic service. In too many, the pace has been backward. Shabby and outdated books, crowded space, old-fashioned rooms, antiquated lighting, and limited hours. Whereas in others, modern facilities, balanced book collections, and up-to-date techniques now provide a strong program. What makes the difference? People, many people, who believe in good libraries, who use them, and who actively support them as friends of the library. Dedicated trustees who interpret the library needs of the people and act in their behalf.
In summary then, with our ever-increasing population, there has been an increase in demand for library services. Costs of books and operating expenses are going up. If the library is to provide the community with the type of service it wants, then this increased budget request must be approved.
Trained librarians to meet library needs as they develop and change. What happens when citizens, trustees, and librarians work together to improve library services? The results are better collections of books and related materials. Better services to all members of the community. Better buildings and facilities. better trained staffs, The major concern of all libraries, even the smallest, is books and related materials. And the major effort is devoted to getting the right books into the hands of their patrons at the right time. The continuing aim is to maintain and improve their collections to gear them to the needs and interests of each community. Each community is different and each has its individual needs. Perhaps the most exacting task of the librarian is to know his community and what it requires in the way of books, services, buildings, and staffs. The goal is to provide equally good library service to everyone, everywhere. For example, a volume on automobiles manufactured in the 20s would be of interest to a collector of antique autos. With the current emphasis on do-it-yourself activities, one of the major community requirements is that books on a wide variety of subjects must be readily available. A man with a modern car, faced with technological advances, complicated mechanism, and an abundance of free advice, would need a book that is hot off the press. If you think about it, the different needs and interests of individuals within each community are virtually unlimited. But there are ways to meet this challenge, and the forward-looking library, both large and small, is making the most of them. By presenting a realistic budget to the community it serves, it is making the needs of the library known. But local support is too often limited by a narrow tax base. State aid without loss of local control may be needed to back up those funds. And financial aid through federal funds has also bolstered both local and state appropriations in broadening library service. Libraries of all sizes have also discovered exciting possibilities in cooperating with other libraries in nearby communities. They are engaged in cooperative selection and purchasing of books with other libraries in their area, taking advantage of the greater discounts possible with larger quantity purchasing. Books so selected are distributed from a central point to each of the participating towns. Building a comprehensive reference collection is mighty expensive business. Active libraries are cooperating with neighboring libraries in the selection and use of reference materials also. Each one specializes in certain subject areas. The result is that any local library in the group can draw on the resources of its cooperating neighbors to provide better reference service to its borrowers. The same holds true for cooperation in selection and purchase of periodicals and other related materials. Cooperation is also helping to solve the space problem. Important but little used books are placed in a common storage facility where they remain available while freeing valuable shelf space in the local library. Reciprocal borrower's cards are still another kind of cooperation that is broadening the scope of library service. Here, the borrower can move from one library to another in order to find the books he needs. Beyond the community level, the programs of the state library extension agencies are geared to strengthen and supplement local resources and services. They have a basic responsibility to provide statewide leadership in planning for every kind of library activity. No library
no matter how large or how well supported, can hope to meet all of the library needs of its community. A familiar program of the state library extension agencies designed to meet one of these needs is bookmobile service, operating out of regional centers or state headquarters. Local public libraries, and in many cases schools, special groups, and individuals enjoy the service regularly. From the Canadian border to Long Island Sound, in all kinds of weather, under all kinds of conditions, the bookmobile travels the highways of New England. And wherever it goes, the welcome mat is out. Books even travel the sea lanes to provide reading materials to everyone, no matter where he may live. But book service to rural areas is only part of the story. In addition, book and reference service by mail is provided by the state library extension agencies from their sizable book collections. Where union catalogs are maintained, the agencies have a listing of the books contained in the cooperating group of libraries, and the requested material may be located through the catalog. Or the State Library Extension Agency may have established a network of outstanding libraries in its state, offering still wider opportunities for extensive book service. In this way, through cooperation on a statewide level, or where necessary, reaching beyond the state. No geographical limits are recognized in the effort to fill special book requests that reflect the local borrower's particular needs or his broadest interests. Such mail service is given through the local library, or where required, is extended directly to schools, special groups, or individuals. Cooperation is not limited to books and periodicals alone. Film cooperatives have been organized to broaden the availability of films to libraries, organizations, schools, and individuals. These cooperatives function within the states and even on an interstate level. Collections of recordings covering many fields from classical to popular music, poetry, and dramatic readings are also being shared cooperatively by libraries which seek to serve their communities better. To each person who relies on his library for information, inspiration, or pleasure, the value of cooperation is becoming more and more evident. And this is just as true for those who look to their libraries for services which go beyond the collection of books. Take reference service, for instance, one of the most important services available at the local library. Whether the question is simple or complex, the modern library is prepared to provide this service, either through its own resources or through cooperatively shared resources. The good library offers readers advisory service, which provides the patron with those books and related materials which can speed and strengthen his progress in the field of his choice. To keep their teenage readers interested, Some progressive libraries have organized special advisory groups of young people for the review and selection of library books for their particular age group. The Children's Story Hour is one of the best-known services offered by the library, whether it is indoors in surroundings that are bright and pleasant, or outdoors when the weather is warm. Whether the program is a favorite story told in a dramatic way by a trained member of the staff, or a puppet show with all the excitement of make-believe, the library performs a unique and special service for the community in bringing the children the priceless pleasure which they find only in the magic world of Once Upon a Time. As a supplement to the school library, the community library provides a source of reference material for study when schools are not in session. Even more important, it makes available the books the student needs to pursue his special interests which may chart the course of his life. The relationship between the school and public library is strengthened by consultants from the state library extension agencies who work with school librarians and with public librarians to foster the unique and vital function of each. They also are available to assist in making library surveys, in working out budgets, and establishing procedures in cataloging or any of the many services carried on daily by the Progressive Library. Exhibits covering a wide range of subjects are another service being provided by the active library, and cooperation is being used to extend the value of this interesting phase of library work. Each library in the cooperating group creates an exhibit of its own, and the collection is then rotated among the group. Add to these services adult discussion programs, hospital and shut-in service, services to golden age groups, quick reference service to businessmen who may request information by telephone, and it is easy to see how much the library can mean to the community when it functions at its best. And a library functions at its best when it is housed in a building that provides adequate space, light, and equipment. The modern concept in library architecture, whether the style be colonial, traditional, or modern, calls for an open, airy structure with suitable illumination in all areas, book space to house a growing collection, sufficient workspace for the staff, and reading areas close to bookshelves where comfort and a pleasant atmosphere add to the reader's enjoyment. The state library extension agencies cooperate to provide information and guidance in studying building requirements. Present population and anticipated population changes are basic considerations in making recommendations. A new building is not always the answer. Often expansion, remodeling, or rearrangement of the present building will handle the situation. One of the problems that is challenging the efforts of the designers is the remodeling of older structures built during the last century and built to last. Poor lighting, narrow, cold windows, dark, crowded shelf space, narrow, dangerous stairs, can be changed with the most gratifying results through ingenuity, careful planning, and the energy of all who are seeking good library service. Where the local community has accepted its responsibilities and raised the money, the local library has been transformed. But library book collections, services, and buildings are only as good as the staffs that maintain them. A pleasing personality, a desire to help the people of the community, and technical skills form the basis for good librarianship. The conviction that books can change the world, and have, is contagious when a successful librarian serves the people. In-service training is offered by each agency to participating libraries to acquaint present staffs with new techniques and to train them in approved methods and procedures. Promotion of library standards established by the American Library Association and by the individual states is a most important phase of the agency's work. Certification of librarians is also encouraged. Good communications is essential to progress, and the writing of brochures, pamphlets, newsletters, and other printed materials is carried on by the agencies to help keep librarians informed and up to date on all matters concerning library work. To this end, also, the state library extension agencies of New England plan, conduct, and participate in library meetings within their respective states and on a New England-wide basis. Regional meetings geared to the interests of library trustees are broadening the understanding of this important group in improving service. Cooperation among libraries is also being explored to the fullest to provide better staffs. Sharing the services of professionally trained personnel can mean better programs for those libraries with limited and untrained staffs. Yes, whatever libraries are serving their communities well, the people, the trustees, and the staffs are continually working together to keep pace with the changing world. What about your own library? Is Jane Freeman a member of your community? Are the books on your shelves blank? They might as well be if they're not being read. Is Sue Palmer on your staff? Are her cards really blank? They might as well be if there's no time for cataloging, no space for files, if the books are out of date or badly worn or unavailable. And your library, is it a center of community interest? Is it being well used, or might it just as well disappear? Are you merely asking,
what's happening to our libraries?
Or are you taking action to improve your library? Are you providing enough money to do the job? The job of maintaining a book collection geared to your needs. Of offering the services you want. Of housing your library in a suitable building. Of providing a staff that is trained and has the facilities it needs to do an effective job. Of cooperating with the libraries in your community and beyond. The years between 20 and 80 represent 3/4 of a lifetime, because for most of us, the only library we will know during these years is the public library. Because our forefathers gave us a priceless heritage when they founded the first public libraries in New England. Because our obligation to our children and to the future is even greater than our obligation to the past, we must make sure America builds its wisdom and strength for the long struggle ahead to win the minds of men. The most effective weapon in this struggle is an informed people. The most accessible source of knowledge and wisdom available to all should be the public library. The question is, what's happening in your library?